You might recall about less than a year ago when the Trump administration passed the one big, disgusting, sweaty bill. And in it, among other things, were cuts to the SNAP program. And a bunch of real smarty pants got together with their calculators and said, hey, if you cut these benefits, the people that actually rely on them are going to suffer. So that's the cause. We're about to meet the effect, and check it out.
I had my annual physical yesterday. I'm 65 years old. I'm legally blind. I'm on disability. I went to my doc and I lost 28 pounds in the last year. I lost the 28 pounds because I cannot afford to eat anymore. Under Biden, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Under Biden, I was able to put $100 a month away for food, along with my SNAP, and I did okay. I could get fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, and meat. It is just me. But now, with grocery prices so high, propane, electricity out of this world, I now only allow myself $65 a month for food.
Sharon, are you on SNAP benefits?
Let me tell you, under Joe Biden, I received $80 a month for SNAP. That was taken away from me under Donald Trump. He took it away. He gave me $24 a month. I did receive that for a couple of months. Then he took it down to $12.50 a month. I said, screw you.
Yeah, so that was a clip from C-SPAN of a woman who very well might have about the same amount of food in her house as most of us have in our stomachs right now. But before we get into hearing more from this woman and get into the SNAP cuts and everything that's going on with them, just based on that clip alone, Cenk, what are your 2 cents?
Yeah, we never do anything for the American people. Like, we're about to spend God knows how much money on a war. We moved 1/3 of our fleet there. Meanwhile, there's Americans starving. You're about to hear how little food she has. Is this the kind of cruelty that we signed up for in this country? So I got a lot more thoughts on that, but wait till you hear the rest of the story.
Yeah, and for context, the mega bill that was passed by the Trump administration does mark the first time in the 50-year history of the SNAP program that the federal government has just decided, hey, we're not gonna guarantee any kind of food assistance for our own citizens. So whether it's kids or the elderly or the disabled or simply low income, and there are 40 million people who rely on this program. And why is this happening? Drum roll, please. Oh, right. It is so we can give tax cuts to incomes over 500,000. You have 187 billion from SNAP. You have 1.1 trillion from Medicaid and ACA. And if you look at those 2 bars, they're almost equal. It's almost like they didn't actually have to do this. So before getting into what is going on to hopefully stop some of this nonsense, let's go ahead and check in back with this woman and her heartbreaking story.
For them people out there, all these Republicans that are doing so flippin' well right now, I have 3 potatoes. I have a half a tomato. I have 3 bananas, 1 apple, 1 can of soup, a half a loaf of bread, 1 egg, and 1 can of green beans. I do not get paid until the 3rd. I am disability blind. I cannot drive a car. I'm 15 miles out of town, so I am not able to just trot my butt down to the food shelf. I used to volunteer at the food shelf. I can't even do that anymore. I don't understand. I'd like somebody to explain to me, why is it always the poor people that are helping the poor people? I don't understand. But what I want to say, Mimi, is that it's really close to coming. Like that man said, the end is coming near, and it can't be any more true for me.
And this comes right as a federal judge in San Francisco has temporarily banned the Trump administration from withholding SNAP funds to over 22 Democratic-led states. This dispute is due to the USDA demanding that these states give over information about their citizens that are part of the SNAP program, information like names, addresses, and social security numbers. The 22 states argue that the demand might violate the Constitution, but don't threaten this administration with a good time. And they are also concerned that this information will be used for immigration enforcement. So this is going to be an ongoing legal battle, but it seems that right now we are entering into the FO part of FAFO. And I think it is incredibly powerful when you see what began as these sort of abstract predictions start becoming really tragic and sad realities. But Cenk, what do you think?
Yeah, so look, I sometimes drive some in our audience crazy by insisting strongly that I'm a capitalist, okay? And I believe in incentives and disincentives. I believe in the wisdom of the crowd, and a lot more where that came from. So I think that you can actually provide so much that it creates a disincentive to work. Now, is that $80 a month? No, that was when it was good. That's when she could have enough food to eat. Is somebody gonna go, oh, I'm getting $80 a month and SNAP? Nah, I don't need to work, I'm covered. No, that's absurd. No, that's the amount you give so people don't starve to death. Okay, when they're blind and they're 15 miles out of town, etc. The part of her story that for whatever reason got to me was that she was down to 1 egg. Like she's counting, like I blithely, cook eggs every morning, never even thinking, what if I was down to 1 egg and I had to save that for a couple of days to get it as a treat? She's down to $12 a month from this. This is, again, gratuitously cruel. Why is it gratuitous? Because guys, forget, okay, so there's the war that we're gonna do for no reason. There's all the money we give to other countries, all the money we give to big pharma, big oil subsidies. It drives me crazy, the waste that the Pentagon has had. But in this case, as Elliot just told you, there's no defense of it at all, because all the money we took away from the average American, we gave to people making above $500,000. Are there no patriots in this country? Like, if you're making over $500,000, you should be screaming the loudest, no, I don't need it. I don't need it. For God's sake, give it to that woman. Just come, we've got to be better than this. We've got to be a community. We've got to be a nation. We've got to be united. We've got to be decent and open-hearted. You're gonna let her starve there because people making above $500,000 a year needed an extra tax break? And on average, if I'm not mistaken, they're getting something to around the order of $64,000 a year in tax breaks. The guys who don't need it at all. Come on, no, it's totally unacceptable. And then lastly, Marjorie Taylor Greene pointed out to Trump as they were doing these cuts, and yes, it was her, saying, you know that most of the people who get SNAP in my district are Republicans. Don't forget, Noble Mobile saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back. Like the overwhelming majority of the people who get SNAP are white Christian Republicans. Of course, it's a deep red district. Who do you think's getting them, right? But that's why it's not about right or left. It's about the elites say, no, I want the money for myself. I want it in oil subsidies. I want it in higher drug prices. I want it in war. And I'm gonna crush the average man. I don't give a damn if they're Republican or conservative or liberal or Democrat. And that's what's happening in this country, John.
Yeah, and we actually see a lot of that. There was just a story a couple days ago where they were pulling the, Medicaid funding to Minnesota. And I'm sure lots of conservatives were like, yeah, get them, Somali fraud. They seem to forget that in the last election, it was like 51-49 in that state. It is not some commie bastion or whatever. Like at least half the people being hurt by that are Republicans. And it doesn't seem to bother Republicans nearly enough when the people they elect utterly screw them over. Yeah, that video was hard to watch. That's one of the toughest to watch videos of C-SPAN I've ever seen. We were gasping a couple times. $12 a month is $0 a month. But also $80 a month, that's $0 a month. That's nothing. Like that, you said that's hopefully enough to stop you from starving. I don't see how it is. I don't see how that's literally anything, even for a single person. And that's the best that we can do, not only the greatest country ever, the richest country ever, but one in the middle of what we are told is a golden age. she gets $12 a month. And then she has to turn on the TV and see that Pete Heggs is like, what do I do with the extra $500 billion we're gonna put in the military every single year? I don't know, I literally don't know where. I can't hold all this money. But you can't get food stamps, you can't get pipelines built, we can't replace your bridges. There's no money for anything except bombing people abroad who are as poor as you are domestically, and I don't get it. And my final comment, and it is a wonder to me that there are not more people doing crazy things when their back has been so pushed against the wall by the people that they've elected. I think the American people are quite reasonable and quite patient with the terrible way that they're treated by their government and their society.
Yeah, and I think she asked a great question, which is like, why is it always the poor people that are helping the poor people? And why is it always the poor people who end up screwed over every single time this kind of administration comes into power? Also, it reminds me of a term called social murder, which is basically, I think, what's happening right now. And you don't think of it as murder because you can't see it. And I think that also plays into a lot of why Republicans are not that interested in this. But it's still murder, it's just done at the hands of the state, so you can't see it. And it happens through policy decisions that people sit on their couches and cheer, completely unaware or uncaring about the fact that other people are potentially literally starving.
The last story was a good example of that too.
Yeah. I gotta back up what you guys are saying as quickly as I can. To Elliot's point, we don't have universal health care, so what that means is that if you don't have insurance and you get cancer, you die, we let you die. And so 70,000 Americans die every year because they don't have health insurance. That's that's more deaths in America than almost any policy, and no one ever talks about it, right? So, and that's how the powerful rigged the system to crush the rest of us, and it's not talked about. My experience, I ran for Congress, I went and knocked down doors. Poor people and lower middle class were by far the most generous in terms of going to help the homeless, wanting to help others, volunteering in their statements, etc. Unfortunately, the wealthy were the least sympathetic, and it's kind of heartbreaking to see because they have the most opportunity to help, of course. It's not true of all rich people, of course, right? But on average, that was my experience. And finally, John's right from an earlier story in the show. All of the independent charts now, they're charting their political opinions now look identical to the Democrats, which means that the Republicans have lost their independence. And how did they lose them? Through actions like this, through being needlessly cruel to women like that and funneling the money over instead to the Pentagon. I mean, even the Republicans, even MAGA voters said, cut the Pentagon when it was at 800 billion. They're trying to get it to 1.5 trillion. And they literally don't know how to spend it. Why are they doing that? Because they care about people? No, because they want to stuff as much pork into the defense contractors as they possibly can before this budget blows up. So it's sick what's happening. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.